All right, so it's been 2 years since I began my journey of making money online. And in this video, I basically want to share with you my entire journey up until this point, from being a broke, lost, middle schooler, high schooler, even right up until college, not knowing what I wanted to do with my life, what my purpose was, why I was put on this earth, which I'm still figuring out, by the way. But I have achieved certain milestones that I believe are noteworthy. And that is what I want to share with you here in this video. I want to share, how I got to the position where I am today, where I make money from my laptop. I make thousands of dollars each month, and what my next steps are, and also how you could replicate some of the success, avoid some of the mistakes that I made. And I even have some lessons here that I want to share with you, lessons which I don't see many people talking about. And these are some things that I have sort of picked up on my own, but also just by observing some successful people, I have picked up certain characteristics that you could take and you could apply in your own life, whether that's in making money in your career, whether you're playing sports, whatever it may be, to achieve success. I know it's a vague term, but you can apply it to whatever situation that you're in. These principles are going to help you 1000% because they help me. And yeah, I even have a slick presentation to go along with this, which I'm super proud of because I'm typically not one who likes to take many pictures or document things. But I have a presentation here. I'm going to run you through my entire story. And then, of course, I have 5 key lessons for you here at the very end that are going to be super, super helpful, right? So let's jump into it. So before we get into like the specifics, I want to give you a bit about my childhood, right? So I am Anglo-Indian. And basically what that means is that my ancestors were mostly from the UK, parts of Europe, but mostly from the UK, right? And I spent most of my time growing up here in India because my great great granddad, he was in the British Army. He came here to India, settled here even after independence, and I basically spent my entire life growing up here in a third world country. So that in and of itself is a video of its own. I could tell you what my experience was. Basically like a foreigner in a third world country. That's why my accent is a little bit funky, maybe. But yeah, so that's basically my childhood, and I come from like a very normal background, um, pretty middle class, not poor, but far from rich as well. And that was my life. I had a pretty normal childhood. But this presentation that I want to cover here is going to be specifically from the ages where I was around 17 or 18, right? So let's take it from there. So when I was in college, I enrolled in college without even knowing what I wanted to do, right? And I gave it an honest shot. I went for 1 full year. It was a 3 year long course. I went for 1 year, and I did not find the answers that I was looking for. College did not offer me a life. It did not promise me a life that I actually wanted to live. So after a good solid 1 year of giving it an honest shot, I decided I'm not going to do this. So there was an arrangement which I made with my college where I still went for my exams, but I didn't actually attend classes, right? And it was pretty chill. So after my first year, I took up a call center job, right? We were basically cold calling Americans, and it was a night shift, right? Because of the time zones. And I was making around $250 a month, about 25,000 rupees. I mean, exactly 25,000 rupees, which is about $250 a month, right? That's a decent amount of money here in India, especially as someone who had no experience, no skills, no degree whatsoever, right? So I picked this up, and this really opened my eyes as to how horrible jobs can be and why most adults basically hate their lives, right? And this was like a good job, by the way, right? I was speaking to some of my friends who were older than me, who had already graduated, who were already working jobs. And when I would describe, the job that I was working, the environment, the people, they said that this is like a pretty above average job. So this was like a good job, good environment. And at the same time, it was hell, to me at least, as per the standards and what I wanted out of life, right? The people were incredibly nasty, you know. Everyone was constantly looking to snake you, trying to fight over promotions, raises, being nasty towards you. I was like one of the top earners here, because basically, once again, we're cold calling Americans. I have the edge where I am white. I don't necessarily have an American accent, but naturally I have an advantage over an average Indian. So I was paid more than everyone else. So everyone hated me for that as well. So, anyways, all in all, it was an absolutely shit job. As per my standards, like I said, it was an above average job, but for me, it was hell. You had to ask your boss before going to for bathroom breaks, and it was just overall not a very healthy environment, and I certainly wasn't making enough money for me to stay there. So after about 5 months, I decided I'm not going to do this anymore, right? I have a few short months left, or rather I had like a year and a half before I graduated, to sort of figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And this job, I knew, or similar jobs, are always going to be there waiting for me, right? And this is like a mistake a lot of people make. Like when you're young, this is the time when you can gamble. You can roll the dice as many times as you want, and the only thing that you're really losing is time, right? And this is the age where you really need to be trying things. And that's what I decided. I was like, why am I going to stay here and try to chase, promotions, raises, when I could um, try something else, right? And all I lose is time. So from there, what I decided to do was I decided that I was going to change my life. I decided I was going to not live this life anymore. Not to mention 5 months without any sun, not eating very well because once again I was sleeping throughout the day, and at night there wasn't really much food to eat. This really fucked up my health as well, right? No sunlight, not eating very well, unhealthy timings. Everyone will try to tell you that your body adjusts, but I'm telling you, it did not, right? And this is like a picture of me. This is after I quit my job. You can see looking extremely sleep deprived. I look like I haven't showered in 2 days, which is not true. But yeah, it really messed me up. So this is the point where I decided I'm going to get in the gym. I'm going to become disciplined. I'm going to, start my journey of self improvement, of becoming the best version of myself. So this was like a month later, maybe. From there, I discovered this whole world of making money online. Andrew Tate, Iman Gadzhi, we've all seen the reels, and I was actually one of the few people who had the courage to actually go for it. So I had to make it work because this sounded like way too good, and I had to at least give it a shot, right? And luckily for me, it worked out pretty quickly, or at least I got the proof of concept fairly early, right? So I quit back in March. March was my last month. From there, from April to June, I basically chose copywriting, and I decided to start outreaching to clients, right? Now, as someone who has absolutely nothing, who doesn't really come from a business background, the best thing I could do was learn a skill, right? And that's what you should do as well. If you come from nothing, if you don't have capital, if you cannot invest in inventory and product and all of that stuff, you should just learn a skill and offer that to other people, right? A high value skill. So that could be copywriting, high ticket sales, web design, AI implementation, stuff like that, right? So at the time, I chose copywriting, which is pretty hot. And I went all in. I started outreaching, started cold calling, cold messaging, cold emailing people to basically find myself a job, right, as a copywriter. Now, once again, I did have the advantage. Not really an advantage. It depends on how you view it, on which position you are. I had the name and the face, right? So I knew that I could outreach to foreign prospects. So that's actually like a life hack, earning money in USD and spending in a third world country where you have more purchasing power. Absolutely insane, right? So I started outreaching between April and June, learning the skill, and then, finding prospective clients. And a few days later, this is in June, you can see I got my first response, which led to my first free client. So I got on a sales call. I spoke to the guy. I spoke to his marketing manager first. He liked my ideas. I even put together like a quick sample to present to him on the call. There wasn't a sales call. That was like a demo call. I was showing him that I knew exactly what I was talking about and how he could improve his marketing. From there, he was like, "This is cool. I'll show this to his boss, who was the actual client," and he was willing to hop on a call with me. Now, I played it as best as I could, but unfortunately, I couldn't walk away with any money. And I was very upfront and I was very honest about it that I've never done this before. So he was reluctant to give me any money, which is totally fair. But at the same time, I was cool with it, just to get some experience in the bag. So this was my first free copywriting client that I landed on the 27th of June. From there, this led me to my first paid gig. Now, this was like 7 months later. So I was working exclusively with this client for 2, 3 months. And once again, not really making any money, but at the same time, I wasn't really outreaching all that much. So this did not lead to any new clients. But however, I did pick up the outreach back in November or something again. And then this guy reached out to me in January. But I sent him a message initially in November. So he got back to me like 2, 3 months later. So he basically said that he's not looking for any help with his marketing or the business side of things, but he is looking for a sales closer. But I was like, why would you think that I'd be a good closer? So he said that he's basically willing to train me. And I thought, he said, you look self confident. I'm like, cool, bro. Like, I just want money. I'm not really that obsessed with copywriting. If I can make money as a closer, perfectly fine. So I hopped on a call with him. He liked me. He saw that I had potential and he chose to invest in me, right? So this is back in January. So he started to train me. We started to do some practice runs. And from there, very soon, he got me onto actual sales calls with people. If you don't know what high ticket sales is, it's basically sales, but online. Selling for something high ticket means something expensive, right? And then you get paid via commission. So this was an $1,800 offer, and I was getting 10% off that, which is $180, right? And a month later, I made my first sale. So this was like a few weeks of training. And this was like super, super hype for me, genuinely. So he sent me like a first payment, $10, just to test to make sure that everything goes through. And of course, which was successful. And I closed 2 clients in my first week, making $360, right? And this is a screenshot of the payment that I received, which is 5 grand more than what I was making back in that call center. So I was making $25,000 for in a month, and I made 30,000 here in a week. In a week for 2 hours of my time, for simply hopping on a call, walking the prospect through the product and then handling any objections, and I just collected the payment, right? So this was sick. This was genuinely so hype. I was so excited about this. I couldn't believe it. My parents couldn't believe it. But ultimately, it did come to fruition, right? And this is genuinely what it felt like, right? I felt like I was absolutely balling out because this wasn't my first taste of money. I worked 5 months at the call center job, but to make money online, this was like completely alien, right? And like to myself as well. So I would watch these people online who were like talking about making money online, and it seemed very fascinating. But deep down, I didn't truly believe it. But once I actually had the money in my bank account, I could see it. This is genuinely what it felt like. And this is all that it took for me, right? I challenge anyone who wants to make money online. I just challenge you to make your first dollar. Just make $1. Find some way to make $1 online, and you will be hooked for life. You will never go back to working a regular job again once you actually crack the code and you get that proof of concept. You're like, there's no way I'm going back to any job again. So this is insane. And just that month, I went on to make a lot more than this. I made 50, 60, 70 grand in Indian rupees. So let's say $700 from this job, which was fantastic. But unfortunately, from there, this guy was having some trouble. So he was getting most of his leads from Instagram, and competitors kept banning his account. So like the lead flow would come and then it would stop completely for weeks. Sometimes for a couple of weeks, there were no leads whatsoever. So basically, I decided there's no way I can't really stick with this guy. It's unreliable. I'm not really progressing as fast as I wanted to, even though I was making crazy money. In just my first month, I 2-3x'd my salary in just a month, which was just insane, right? But still, I was very ambitious. I got my first taste of money, and I was super hungry. I wanted more. So I was continuing to outreach to other copywriting clients, and then I got my first paid gig, right, as a copywriter through copywriting. So I even have the date here. You can see for yourself. So this is in March, right? It's the 11th of March. So if you come back here, you will see this was, hang on. Yeah, this is the 12th of Feb. And this is like almost exactly a month later in March, I got my first copywriting gig, right? It's my first team call. Of course, I blurred them out to protect their privacy. So this then led me, I made about $600 from this one singular gig. So with the money from here, from this gig, as well as some savings from here, I was able to buy my first MacBook in cash, right? And this was a super exciting feeling because this laptop, this HP, I mean, it was all right, and I'm super grateful, for to my parents and just the laptop itself for allowing me to get to this position. But there were some days where it just would not come on, right? And it was like a real pain in the ass. And then, of course, a MacBook is a must have. So I was able to buy my first MacBook in cash, right? No EMI, none of that stuff. I bought it cash down, and this really drained my bank account to almost zero, but it was totally worth it, right? Because, like I said, I knew I had proof of concept. I had the motivation to go all in, and I had an absolute money printer in my hands, right? And from there, it just went up and up and up. And I'm now sitting in a position where I make thousands and thousands of dollars a month. My biggest payment has been 5K. I've made $5,000 in a single month. This was, of course, for a 3-month project. And these are some other payments as well that I got through Mercury, right? Mercury is a bank in the US, and they are, happy enough to send you a notification. For my other clients, they don't really, I don't really get notified. It just shows up in my bank account. Like even this guy here, from when I was from the high ticket sales, he sent me this screenshot, right? There's no way for me to access this. It just shows up in your bank account when you get a wire transfer, an international wire transfer. So there's a lot of payments here which I don't really have the proof to. Some of the payments are in crypto as well. So I'm basically making a lot of money online for my age, right? And these are genuinely like absurd numbers, especially if you're in a third world country, right? And that has led me to live a sick life. It has allowed me to access things that I could not before. Like I said, coming from a normal middle class family, super grateful for my parents. They're very hardworking. But of course, we have limitations, and I could not do the things that I can do today, right? Like booking out sick villas, working from a cafe, because once again, all I need is my laptop, five-star hotel, being able to take my girl out to fancy places, smoking cigars, doing cool shit, and just living a cool life overall. Working not that hard, but at the same time making insane amounts of money, right? Especially once you translate that into Indian rupees and you spend it in a third world country, it's a lot of money, right? And that brings me to the lessons, right? And it's been, like I said, like 2 years, almost 3 years since I began this job, right? This was in November. We are now in August of 26. So this is almost 3 years later since I was working that job. And to be able to make this money, it seems cool, right? And I've just summed it up in whatever, 10, 15 minutes. But the amount that you have to change as a person, develop, not only in skill set, but also in identity, it takes a lot. It takes a lot, right? And these are some of the key lessons which I want to share with you that I implemented subconsciously, but also some of them were very conscious, and it's going to help you to change your life as well. So the first one is, don't follow your passion. And I know what you're thinking. This is what every successful person tells you. They tell you, do what you love. They tell you to follow your passion. But unfortunately, for the vast majority of people, in my experience, following your passion does not lead to success, at least monetarily. And I know money is not everything, but at the same time, like, you spend what, like 40% of your life sleeping, the other 10, 20%, I don't know, on the toilet, eating, sleeping, whatever, right? And the rest of your life, like a good 40 to 50% of most people's lives, goes in their job or in their business. So you're working half your life for money anyway. So let's not pretend as though money is not important, right? Money is very important. So you do have to find a way to make money to survive in this world and ideally thrive, right? To have access, to have an abundance of money. That's ideal for everyone, right? And it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, right? Regardless of what people say, I've never let that affect me. I know that I'm a good person. I know that with money, money is powerful, but power alone is not evil necessarily. It's about what you do with it. So with that out of the way, with that tangent and that rant out of the way, don't follow your passion for most people. If you're following your passion right now and it's working out for you, cool, you do you. But for most people, what I've noticed, and this is true for me as well, the way you actually make money is by becoming useful, doing something that you kind of like, but something that you're good at and getting very, very good at it. You have to be useful to other people, right? Whether that's a service that you're providing, a certain skill set that you have, or whether you're actually supplying someone with a product or whatever, right? Through a business. So you have to become useful and you have to become very good at it. That is actually how you make money. Now, when it comes to following your passion, for a lot of people, they might not be very good at their passion. You might enjoy doing it. Like I enjoy football, but I'm shit at it. I love playing football. Especially when I was younger. I don't play that much now. I mean, I watch. I'm a Manchester United fan. Shout out to you if you follow Manchester United as well, if you support them. But I'm not very good at football. And if I pursued it as a career, I would fail. I would fail massively. I enjoy playing chess, right? But once again, I'm good at it, but I'm not very good at it. I can't make money from it, right? So, for a lot of people, the things that they're passionate about, they can sometimes not be very good at it, or not be good enough to monetize it, or not be good enough to make the money that they want to make through their passion. So find something that you kind of like doing. You might not necessarily love it, but you don't hate it. You don't mind doing it, and become very good at it and stack skills, right? That's the next thing. So you get good at multiple things and then they all combine, work together to help you make a lot of money. So don't follow your passion, get good at something and become useful to other people and find a way to present that to the world and you will get paid very well for it. The second thing is be arrogant. I love this one. If I had a penny for every person in my life, for every time I heard the word, you're too arrogant, you're too narcissistic, you're too full of yourself, I wouldn't have to work another day in my life because I'd be fucking rich, right? And arrogance is something that's very interesting. And there's a nuance to this, right? For a lot of people, and this is true for me once again, this is something that has helped me a lot. Most people aren't as confident as they want to be, right? If you take confidence as a spectrum, right? It's not, so we can't speak in absolutes. It's not, are you confident? Are you not confident? The question is actually, how confident are you and where you lie on that spectrum? So this is like extreme arrogance, extreme narcissism. And this is, I hate my life. I can't do anything. I'm useless. I'm worthless, right? For a lot of people, they are on this side of the spectrum, closer to the worthless side and not as much to, I'm the best, I'm number one in the world, right? Most people lack confidence. And this was true for me as well. And I'm constantly working on this as well, right? We can always be better. We can always do better. We can always be more confident. So to reach a place where you are confident so that you can achieve certain things in your life, or rather, when you have to make massive progress in anything, most of the time you have to be extreme. You have to take extreme action, make extreme decisions so that you can propel, so that you have the momentum to get to where you want to be. And you might overshoot. You might become too arrogant. You might become too cocky. You might be acting rude to people. I'm not saying to do that. I'm not saying to do that, but a lot of people would benefit a lot in their lives if they just injected a lot more arrogance into their lives. And that all that basically means is extreme self-confidence that you could do anything. You speak with a certain level of conviction. You walk with your shoulders back and your chin high and your head held high all the time, right? And that's going to piss a lot of people off. It is. I know it does. I know. I can see it. I can, with the side eyes that I get. For some people who even say it to my face, I don't really care. I don't really take it as an insult. I think that's like a big thing for me, at least. I don't take arrogance or being narcissistic as an insult because I'm not misusing it. I don't go around, saying I'm better than you, I'm taller than you, I make more money than you, I'm better looking than you. I don't do that. Of course not. I'm not talking about being a dickhead. I'm talking about having a level of self-confidence that allows you to pursue the things that you want to pursue and become very good at it and become successful at that thing. That's all I'm talking about here, nothing else. So you don't have to be a dickhead, right? But you need more self-confidence. You need more arrogance. You need to piss more people off, right? The worst thing is just being ignored by people. I'd rather piss off the entire world than be ignored by the entire world. So be more arrogant. The next one, lean into your unfair advantage. And this is also something that's going to piss a lot of people off. So in this life, everyone has a certain unfair advantage. So you might be taller, you might be smarter, might be better at math, might be better looking. Whatever it is, you need to identify what your unfair advantage is. And this should be obvious to you. You might not have the courage to, pursue it right now, but you should be able to recognize this. And even if you're not, you can develop it, right? Develop a certain skill set, learn to speak, become camera confident. That's something that I'm working on. It could be tied to a skill, right? It could be you becoming very useful. This is going back to, point number one, where you don't follow your passion, you instead become useful. Just become very, very good at something. And that's going to become your unfair advantage in this world. So if you're very good looking, you should be on social media, right? Unless you hate it. I can't tell you the number of times that I've been told that I should get into modeling or filmmaking, right? Am I the best looking guy in the world? No, but I'm pretty good looking. I know that, right? And this has come from other people. A lot of people have told me that I should pursue something like that. And that's not really something that I want to do, to be honest with you. But social media is something that I am now beginning. And I'm so angry at myself that I did not start this sooner. This is an unfair advantage. It's a God-given gift that I will use, that I have a right to use. And for you, it might be something else. Like I suck at numbers, I suck at math. You might be very good at math, right? And that's your unfair advantage. And you should use that completely unapologetically. Don't hurt anyone. Once again, everything has nuance. I'm not saying to use that against someone. Yeah, in a healthy, competitive way, sure. But don't hurt anyone, don't ruin anyone's life. But anything, you can have political connections, you can have whatever it is, whatever unfair advantage you have in this world, you need to use and abuse it, right? To make money, once again, not by doing anything wrong, by just getting ahead in life in general, right? That's really something that you need to recognize and you need to start using unapologetically. And like I said, this is going to piss a lot of people off. I'm good looking. If you're not, you probably don't like me for that, if you are insecure in that fact. But if you're smart enough, if you're logical enough, you won't hate people, right? You need to recognize instead of hating other people for their unfair advantages, recognize your own and use that to improve your life. I hope that makes sense. Point number 4, learn to speak effectively. This is so important. And that's something that I'm working on every single day. You need to learn to communicate your thoughts. So there's like a few levels to this game. So one is just getting people to listen to you in the first place, just getting people to hear you. So one, speaking in a volume where they can hear you, where it's literally, it vibrates the inner eardrum of theirs. A lot of people speak too softly, right? And then talk about things that are interesting. Learn to conversate with people, learn to orate your thoughts. That's level 1. Level 2 is then getting them to buy into your way of believing, your belief system, what you think. Get them to think what you think. Get them to believe what you believe, right? That's persuasion. And this is super important. And this is something that I'm working on actively. I'm not perfect, but this is also like, once again, another one of my unfair advantages, I would say. I would say I'm a pretty decent speaker, but once again, we're improving 1% every single day. You need to be able to do this. And this is genuinely a superpower. If you can really speak, if you can speak effectively, and if you can speak in a way that makes people listen, and if you can move people, that's incredibly powerful. It should be number 1 on this list. If I could leave you with anything, it's this. Learn to speak, learn to communicate. I can't tell you the number of times I've been on sales calls. Like I'm negotiating with multimillionaires as a 20, 21, 22-year-old in a third world country. I'm negotiating with multimillionaires. How do you think I close those deals? It's because I can speak with a level of confidence and fluency that gets them to want to listen to me, that gets them to want to give me money, right? And this also ties into, being arrogant, having that level of self-confidence where you can sit in front of a multimillionaire and says, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, and we're going to make you a lot of money. And say it in such a way that they actually believe you and that they want to trust you. Trust is like what we're going for here. This could be anything, whether it's talking to your mother, whether it's talking to a girl that you like, whether you wanted to go on a date with you, whatever it is, you need to be able to speak with a level of conviction and understand, of course, depending on the exact situation, whether you need to be more confident, whether you want to be more empathetic, whether you need to be more understanding, whatever it is, you need to understand having social awareness and having the ability to speak effectively and communicate your thoughts. That is what is going to make you a good leader as well, especially for a man. This is going to help you massively, right? Even when it comes to content and marketing, I've worked with so many people who create content, or rather, I just observe them, and I just don't trust them. I don't want to buy from them because they don't look like they believe in themselves. They aren't able to communicate in a way that makes me want to buy from them or even watch their content in the first place because they don't seem confident in themselves. So all of these things, as you can see, is it's a lot of character development overall, right? And arrogance is going to help you with this once again. And finally, realize that there are no rules in this life and you can do anything. Now, I'm not saying that there are no laws. There are laws and there are consequences for breaking the law, but there are no rules. And this is something that I'm actively realizing every single day, navigating a lot of these bullshit rules that society has come up with when it comes to how we move about and how we act and treat other people. So, simple example, going to a family member or a relative's whatever anniversary that you don't like, that they're genuinely bad people, or that they've snaked you, or that they've snaked your family, and they're just bad people. You don't have to go. You don't have to do it, right? I was told you need to go to college and you need to get a job, you need to educate yourself. No, no. Education is important, right? But I self-educate. I self-educate on knowledge that is helpful to me in my situation, right? So education is important, but not the bullshit that they teach you in college. That was not worth my time. I didn't do that. I broke that rule. You know, working a job is completely optional, right? I always used to think that business is, you have to have transportation and a factory and an office with 50 people. No, you can have a service-based business that you could run from your laptop and you could serve clients in a first world country, earn in USD, and spend in a third world country. That's another rule which I broke, right? You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to get a job and you're supposed to chase promotions. I didn't do that. I found my own path, right? So I can give you countless examples. And what you need to understand is that there's so many things in life that you don't want to do that are these obligations that have been put on you by society that everyone just does that you don't have to do. You don't. You don't. Don't break any laws. Once again, we're not talking about laws, we're talking about rules. We're talking about societal norms that you don't have to follow if you don't want to, if you disagree with it, if it's misaligned with you. Just say fuck it. I'm not going to do that. No. No, say no. Have the courage to say no. Do what you want to do. Don't do what you don't want to do. Don't do things just because someone else told you to. And live true to yourself. Live true to God. Everyone has an internal, self-consciousness. We all understand intrinsically what is right and what is wrong. And unless you truly believe deep down that you're doing something wrong, of course, then don't do it. But other than that, just live true to yourself. Live your life. Do whatever you want. Make money online. Make money from a laptop. And yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what else to say. I'm still working on these outros. I'm terrible at it. The video is basically over, but I don't know what to say. So like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. This has been a long one. It's going to be mostly unedited. I might not even edit it at all. I mean, I have to work in the presentation. But other than that, I hope this is valuable. I hope that these lessons made sense to you. Some of you are not going to like me. That's perfectly fine. For those of you who do, join the tribe, subscribe, shoot me a DM on Instagram if you have any questions. I'm going to leave my Instagram in the description. And then, of course, my next video is going to be about, where I'm going to go from here. Right? Copywriting has served me well. but it's time to move on to bigger things. And that's what the next video is going to be about. So, yeah, that's all from me. Once again, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. It's been a pleasure, and I'll speak to you soon.